Welcome to Vespasian, Papa Bear, episode 19.
I just noticed we're both wearing green shirts. So
Thought that
did we?
was in the
It was in the
management
memo.
meeting, wasn't
All
it?
right, all right,
Yeah,
never
yeah,
mind.
yeah, yeah.
Next week's blue, but this. Okay, go
Matching.
ahead. I I,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
interrupted you. You go ahead.
Well, in our last episode, we got to the end of the siege of Jerusalem finally. So
Yeah.
one morning in September 70 CE, depending on the sort, like I read some sources that say it's like September 26th. I read other sources that said no, it was earlier in September.
Right.
Not exactly sure when it was in September, but at some point in September, everyone seems to agree it was September. 70
Yeah.
CE, Titus, tight ass, entered what was left of Jerusalem's upper city, which is where the last rebel holdouts were.
Yeah.
Goes in with his officers and his staff, looks around.
Yeah.
There's not much left. There are the
No.
3 towers of Herod's palace,
Right.
bit of a wall, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And he goes, "Do you smell? Is someone cooking? Oh no, sorry. That's the tens of thousands of corpses. Never mind. Forget I said that. Yeah.
According to Josephus, Titus says, "We certainly have had Jove as our assistant in this war, and it was none other than Jove who ejected the Jews out of these fortifications." Now, now you know me well enough. We've worked together for 50 years. See if can you guess?
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
guess which rant I'm going to go on now?
Is it it wasn't so much Jove as starvation or real world facts, or I don't
No,
know, because
no, no,
you've
no,
gone in a
no,
lot
no,
of
no,
different
no, no.
directions over the
I know.
years.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know, I was seeing if you
Yeah.
know me as well as my AI does.
We're sorry.
The fascinating thing about this, for me,
Right. Yeah.
is okay. He's not speaking English; he's speaking Latin, and he wouldn't have said the way you pronounce Jove in Latin would have been.
I don't know.
Oh my God! All these years we've been doing this show, you can't
What
remember that?
I say Jove.
Yeah.
Fuck Latin.
How do the Italians, the Romans, pronounce a J?
Do they do it like the Spanish? No, I'm just I don't
Yeah,
know.
they do actually.
Oh, I
Yeah,
was just that's where they get it from.
yeah.
Hove,
Julius,
yeah,
Julius Kaiser.
right,
Yeah.
right.
J is a Y, a V is a W.
Oh my
So
God. I gotta
Jove
write
would
this
have
down.
been Yahweh.
Oh, gotcha.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
The same way the Jews pronounced the name of their God, if they did
Yes.
pronounce it, which they didn't, because for centuries at this stage, the Jews had believed it was tantamount to blasphemy to pronounce the
Just
name of the
yeah.
tetragrammaton,
He
the
who shall not be
Yahweh.
named. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
We're
was
not worthy.
Voldemort. Before
Yep.
Voldemort,
But
it
this
was
one had a
Yahweh.
nose. I think. Did he
Yeah.
have a nose? You know what? Let's
Yeah.
not. Let's
Unlike
not.
Michael Jackson.
Right.
My son Hunter tried to get me to go with him this week to see the Michael Jackson biopic that's come out. I was like, listen,
What was your response?
unless they're going to tell me what happened to his fucking nose, what happened
Right.
to the color of his skin,
Yes.
where his kids came from,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
did with the little boys in the beds,
And the monkey.
and the
I don't want. Yeah.
I'm not really
going.
interested.
I'm
That's
not. No.
I
Break
know.
new
I said, look,
ground.
you're
Yeah.
25. Michael Jackson's been dead almost your entire life. I
Yeah.
grew up with Michael Jackson. I spent, it was
Yeah.
like 30 or 40 years of Michael Jackson constantly in the news. Everything he
Yeah.
ever did was
Was
news, saturated with Michael Jackson. Like Macaulay Culkin,
yeah.
I was saturated with
Wow.
Michael
No.
Jackson. Like
Michael Jackson juices. No, and there was
sticky.
that one summer I wore just one glove. I'm right there with you. We were raised with this guy. It's different
Which
for
hand
us.
did you jerk off with? The one with the glove or the one without? Because if you put
Uh,
sequins on the glove and then you
right. Oh my
grab your old
God.
fella,
Yeah.
it
No. On the
gives
advice
you a
of
different.
counsel, I declined to answer that question. Let's just say it hurt until I learned better. Until I smoothed him away. Go ahead.
Christy Noam's husband told me that if
Right.
you,
Oh,
hey,
no.
What happened to your assistant governor of Virginia today?
He obviously had some marital issues. And see, here's my thing. If you're going to kill yourself and that's horrible, please don't do that. Get help. I get that. But if you've decided, I'm not going to live anymore, and bitch, you're damn sure not going to live past me, murder or suicide. I mean, it's caught everybody here by storm, but that's fucked up. I said to Heather, look, if it ever gets so bad, you're thinking about offing me, just tell me. I'll leave. I will leave and still pay the house. Just don't kill me.
But she doesn't
Can
get
we?
to see the light go out in your eyes then. I think that's part
She
of what
would.
she...
I think that's what she. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the bonus. That's the cherry
Either
on top.
Heather or one of your kids.
R-
So back to Yahweh.
Yeah, please, God.
I don't know how I got off of that track, but so if there were any Jews left alive, and there were some,
Right.
they're hearing Titus say that Yahweh ejected the Jews out of the city.
That's blasphemy to them if they interpret it.
So Titus is invoking his sky father god,
right? Disrespectful.
while standing over the ruins of the temple dedicated to another sky father god.
Wow.
Who had the same name.
Yeah. Should we say Yahweh 1 and Yahweh 2? Or then they'd fight over who's one. You know what? Forget. That was a bad idea. That was a bad idea.
And I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole again with this. Now, I've known about this for a long time. I think since when I was preparing for the film. The fact that the Roman version of the Sky Father God, the name of it, Yahweh, was the same as the Hebrew version of Yahweh. As I said, they didn't call him that. They called him Adonai, my Lord, stuff like that. But, the name was the name. Whether or not they used it is beside the point. But I'd always been under the impression that no one had really talked about this correlation in the ancient sources. But thanks to the AIs, not the first one I asked, but one of the ones that I asked eventually, I found out that that actually isn't true. We do have some written record of the fact that the Romans were well aware of this and tried in their own way to make sense of it.
Right.
We've talked before about Marcus Terentius Varro. Do you remember much about Marcus Terentius Varro?
No, the name is right there, but I remember Varro. That's all I remember.
He was like one of the major academic intellects of Julius Caesar's time. Lived 116 to 27 BCE.
Right.
During the Caesar Pompey Civil War, he was one of the commanders of one of Pompey's armies.
Yes.
Survived, got a couple of pardons from Julius Caesar.
Yep.
Who then appointed him to oversee the public library of Rome in 47 BCE.
Right.
But then Caesar died, and Mark Antony prescribed him, and he survived that. And then he became friendly with Augustus, who protected him. And he then sort of became this great academic. And he created the calendar. So the calendar that was used for centuries after that was the Varronian calendar. He created what's called the Varronian chronology.
Not bad.
To determine an exact year-by-year timeline of Roman history up to that time based on the traditional sequence of the consuls, the year of Julius Caesar, et cetera, all the way through. And he wrote a bunch of books, most of which have long disappeared, but we know of some of them. We've got a couple of bits of a couple of them. On the Latin language, De Lingua Latina Libri and Rerum Rusticarum Libri, the 3 books of rural topics on agriculture stuff.
That's hot. Yeah.
It is hot. Anyway, Varro, in one of the writings, explicitly identified the Jewish god with Jupiter.
Right.
So he made that connection. And we only know that because Saint Augustine in the early 5th century mentions him. He says Varro thought the god of the Jews was Jupiter. So
Gotcha.
we
Right.
know that from Augustine.
So, yeah.
And he argued that the Jews worshipped the highest god without an image, and that it was, he thought, basically the same as the Roman Jupiter, which would be Zeus,
Right.
right? So he had sort of figured out, oh, okay, we all worship the same god. They just have they have the same name for him, so it must be the same god.
Right.
By the way, the etymological history of Jove and Yahweh are completely different. The
That makes sense.
etymology of Latin and the etymology of Hebrew, or the historical backgrounds to them, are completely different. So these two names
Hmm.
aren't etymologically connected, and yet
Just there's
coincidentally they sound
right.
exactly the same. It's
Yeah.
kind of fascinating. It was written in Hebrew as the Greek. Well, when they did it in Greek, they wrote it as IAO,
Hmm.
yo, which is the basis of yo, man, what's up? That is basically originally was like, hey, God,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. What
yo,
would be
right?
happening?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what be
No.
happening?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the standard way for Greeks and Romans to pronounce Yahweh was yo.
Right.
But there's this thing I found out about, which I did not know about, and this blew my mind. I'd never heard of this before. There's this thing called the Greek magical papyri,
Uh-huh.
abbreviated as the PGM.
All right.
It's a body of papyri that were discovered, or came to light sort of early 20th century.
Mm.
Um, Mostly written in ancient Greek, but also in Old Coptic, dated, they think, from the hundreds BCE to the 400s CE.
Right.
One of the best known of them, although I didn't know about it, and if I don't know about it, like who the
Then
fuck
no.
does? But it's known as the Mithras liturgy. So you know about Mithraism. We've talked about the Mithraic cults. One
Hmm.
of the very, very popular cults, mystery religions in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, competitive, very competitive with Christianity in the first few hundred years CE, was probably more popular, more well established than Christianity was right up until, uh, you know, Constantine and then Theodosius
Did their thing.
turned
Yeah.
Rome into the empire into a theocratic, well, a theocracy, and wiped it out.
Right.
But I had thought we had nothing written down about Mithraism. I knew we had discovered some of the underground caverns where they
Hmm.
practice their rituals, and there are some paintings on the walls that demonstrate. But we have this thing, which now here's the caveat on this. Not all
Right.
scholars agree that this papyri, what it's talking about, is Mithraism. But the guy
Right.
who first translated it, Albrecht Dietrich, a German scholar of religion, he was the first translator of the text in 1903. He believed it was connected to Mithraism.
Mm.
And scholars seem to be divided on it. But it's basically, they think it dates to the early 4th century CE, AD. So the early 300s, around about the same time that Constantine is doing his thing with Christianity, going, you know what, you're allowed to
Right.
exist now, etc., etc. Although
Right.
Dietrich himself thought it was composed earlier than that, sort of 100 to 150 CE, somewhere in that range.
Hmm.
And it's basically a series of magical invocations
Ooh.
to basically have the secrets of the universe and immortality guided by
Sure.
archangels, or a high messenger is one of the translations of it, of Helios Mithras, the sort of the sun god that the Mithraic cult worshipped.
Hmm.
Mithraism, as far as we understand, was like a syncretist cult that combined bits of Egyptian religion, bits of Greco-Roman religions, mythologies, and possibly a bit of Hebrew mythology as well. It is, which is exactly the same as Christianity. You know,
Yeah.
as I've talked about many, many times, the strongest evidence that Christianity was a hybrid, syncretized cult
Hmm.
is the elements in it that don't make any sense for a purely Judaism based
Right.
breakaway, which is the human sacrifice, the resurrection of the dead,
Hmm.
and the Eucharist. Like the most obvious thing is the Eucharist, and for non Catholics,
Yeah.
um, there's this thing in Catholicism, other denominations have it as well, but particularly Catholicism has this thing: eat this bread, it is my body; drink this wine, it is my blood.
They're
It's a
big on that.
fir- it's first
Yeah.
attested to in one of Paul's letters, one of the earliest writings that we have in Christianity, probably written in the early 50s. He may have known about it, for decades before that. He
Yeah.
says, that this was a tradition of saying those things that was handed down to us. From who? He doesn't say.
Right.
But if Jesus did exist, it might have been Jesus himself who used that invocation or incantation.
Yeah.
And again, it makes no sense as part of Judaism, but it makes complete sense from a Mithraic perspective if it
Hmm.
had integrated in the cults of Bacchus or Dionysus, the wine god. If you're
Right.
celebrating a wine god and he says, drink this grape juice, it is my blood, makes total sense.
Yes.
And Osiris, who was killed and then resurrected and was also a grain god, and the
Mm.
cult of Isis, which we know was big in Rome because we know Nero was a big worshiper of Isis until his sister lover died, and then he got cranky at the Isis cult because they didn't save her.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Part of the celebration of Isis and Osiris via Isis was eat this bread. It is the body of the killed god who's resurrected as the grain crops.
That's hot.
Made total sense. So
Yeah.
anyway, Mithraism, as far as we know, had a lot of this stuff in it as well. And so there's this crazy story about this papyri, these papyri that start turning up in the early 19th century and then get translated in the early 20th century. This French diplomat, Jean-Francois Mimeux, who died in 1837, he acquired one and sold it to the French Bibliothèque Nationale. There are all these, as after Napoleon did his thing in Egypt in the late 18th century, early 19th century, these French scholars are going through there and they're buying or acquiring through means
Hmm.
fair or foul
Yeah.
these ancient papyri, which made it into these collections. And one of them, anyway, refers to the first great angel of Zeus, Yo. So,
Oh, right.
and a Yo, IAO, is one of the most frequently invoked names of power in these Greek magical papyri alongside Zeus. So, going way back, there was connections with Yahweh and Zeus and Jupiter. Cornelius Labeo, who was a Roman theologian in the 3rd century CE, called the most important Roman theologian after Varro,
Nice.
gets cited in a later work, the Saturnalia by Macrobius. And he has a story about Apollo. Goes like this: for the Clarion Apollo, upon being asked which of the gods was meant by Yo, spoke as follows: initiates must hold their secrets, yet know Yo is Hades in the winter, Zeus in the spring, Helios in summer, and Yo in autumn. So basically saying that Yahweh,
Mm-hmm.
Jove, was
Right.
the ultimate god, the father of all the gods, represented as other gods in different seasons, and
Right.
himself in autumn. So, yeah, whilst the two words linguistically are what they call false cognates, come from
Mm-hmm.
different language families. The Latin comes from PIE, Indo-European. The Hebrew word comes from Semitic backgrounds. The phonetic overlap is
That's
fascinating and
cool.
was
Yeah.
understood by Romans and Jews, you would assume,
Right.
in that early
Educated
stage.
ones. Yeah.
So you have, back to the story, you have Titus standing up saying, this
Yeah.
temple to Yahweh was destroyed
Yes.
by Yahweh, which, funnily enough,
Right.
the Christians
Oh.
then take that and say God destroyed the Jews because they rejected Jesus.
Right.
Titus says Yahweh destroyed Yahweh because the Jews refused to pay their taxes, basically.
Yeah. Was it's important to stress that no matter how you peel it, the Jews are the bad guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And
Just
that was
want to
before
clear.
they were committing genocide in Gaza
Right.
and
Yeah.
carpet
Yeah.
bombing Lebanon
Well,
and Iraq.
going back to going back to Titus saying none other than Jove who ejected the Jews of these fortifications. I wonder if you're a surviving Jew and you've been through hell. I can't remember did this start in April, May? You've been gone through hell and you hear that and you go, is he just being a cunt? It's because if they're not educated, they might not understand the two words sound similar. But it sounds like it's a last little dig, even though 90% of it's destroyed, it's burnt down, tens of thousands of dead. Is it just a cunty move on Titus's part? But the point is, like we said, it's destroyed, it's devastated. He now owns whatever's left of Jerusalem.
Yeah. Now, the Jews who had been imprisoned in the underground cells in the upper part of the city were freed now on the orders of
Yay!
Titus, who gave orders to his troops not to kill any
No,
more
no,
Jews.
no, no. We've been here before. Remember when he said he gave the orders for no more fires?
Yeah.
Carl
Look,
stepped up.
orders, schmorders. Like
Orders.
his troops, when Titus gives an order, it's a
Was
bit
there a
like,
wink? No, go
yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
it's a suggestion. They take his orders as suggestions.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to guess by your lack of respect of Titus's word that there might have been a few more uh, killings.
I called our last episode Unleash the Carl. I'm not sure if you saw them.
Dude,
Unleash the
beautiful,
Carl.
beautiful. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
So, all of the survivors, and there are there are thousands to tens of thousands of these
Yes.
survivors, depending on who you believe. Josephus says
Sure.
like 97,000, but that's probably massively inflated.
Bit
But
much.
there's a lot, and they're assembled in the what's called the Women's Court of the Temple Mount, where
Yeah.
the guilty get separated from the innocent. Now,
That's fair.
how do you
Yeah. Yeah.
separate the guilty from the innocent, Ray?
Well, this kind of takes me back to when we first met on video, which what Fronto, the Tribune Fronto, who's going to be assigned to discern, um, he has the same talent that I do. You can look a man in the eye, or woman or child, whatever, and you can just tell rebel, civilian, whatever. It's just a gift. It's a gift. If you question it, it goes away.
Well, when you and I
Anyways,
first met, you cupped my balls and said,
yeah,
you told me then that was how you tell.
yeah. Well, you know what? I'm like, I lied. I've never cupped Australian balls before, so I was just
Yeah, yeah.
taking
Are
the.
they as heavy as I think they're going to be?
No, but you're right. When they bring these thousands of people out from the subterranean things, there's been months of starvation. Some of them are too old, some of them are too weak, and the Roman guards are the ones who are trying to hurry them along because they're bored. They're like, look, I could either pick this guy up and carry him, and he looks around, he doesn't see Titus, or I could do a little stabby, and problem solved. And so there were additional deaths because they didn't just want to have to deal with these very weakened people. But you're right. Soon there are thousands of people in the woman's court, and Tribune Fronto has got to discern who is, who, and if there is tens of thousands, he's going to be here for a while. He's going to have to cancel his fall plans.
Josephus says the process of separating the guilty from the innocent was basically they used defectors, and they go, "What about this one?" He goes, "Oh, no, he's a cunt. Kill him." What about this one? No, this one's okay. This one's all right. Let him go. Women and children were spared, but I mean, if there are thousands of people, I don't know how many of these people the defectors knew personally and could tell you, but
exactly.
The basic division was, for a start, Josephus says that a lot of people were so sick from starvation and disease and whatever that they just didn't survive the waiting around. There wasn't enough grain to go around anyway. So
exactly.
a lot of the survivors just died even after they'd been freed by Titus, just waiting for the division. A lot of legionaries were like, "This one's dead. I'm not dead yet. I'm still alive." Shut up. No, you're not. You're dead.
Yeah. Boom. Yeah. Could just wait a minute. Could you come back around the block? Yeah.
Yeah. And so they were separating them out. Now, the ones who were identified as leaders of the rebellion were set aside for crucifixion.
They got to go.
Yeah. Out of the rest, Fronto chose 700 of the best built young Jewish men and set them aside for a sex party.
But after that,
right, to be in Titus's triumphal parade in Rome.
Right. Well, we've talked about this over the years, and this is very clever. The Jews, the Romans, very clever bastards. When you parade, hundreds or thousands of people behind you in your triumphal chariot, you don't want scrawny looking sons of bitches there. You don't want, with all due respect, you don't want a bunch of Danny DeVitos. You want Arnold Schwarzenegger because it looks more impressive. If they're impressive, then you must be more impressive because you defeated them. So you take the tall ones, you feed them, you fatten them up. They got some muscles, and so when they're behind you in your chariot, it just looks good. So let's take 700 of these guys. We'll take them back to Rome. So that's a good start. But again, Fronto's work is only getting started.
I would love a parade full of Danny DeVitos, either dressed up as the Penguin?
Yes.
or naked crawling out of a lounge, as in Frank Reynolds
couch.
And Sonny. Yeah.
That was fucking hilarious. I was disturbed and turned on at the same time. Sorry. Go ahead.
So after these well-built younger Jewish men survive the sex party and the triumphal march, they're going to fight in the amphitheater in Rome for the entertainment of Romans.
Yeah.
Now, Vespasian and Titus seem to have agreed before the siege of Jerusalem that they would each celebrate a triumph in recognition of their victories. Although Vespasian was on record saying he never really wanted one. And as we'll see later... in the middle of he's like, "Oh, this is such a big pain in the ass. It's so moving so slowly. I got shit I should be doing. Just walking. I'm in a chariot or whatever the fuck he was doing. Like, this is
Could we walk faster, please? Yeah. Thank you.
I got important shit I need to be doing.
Right. Yeah.
But let's talk about the triumphs. So it's been a while since we've seen a triumph in Rome. Who had the last triumph? Do you remember?
Oh, that was and he's only my favorite because of the TV series and the book Claudius. So Claudius, he got a triumph for his, and I say his, air quotes, for his victory in Britain. But it turns out that, believe it or not, his generals did all the fighting. He did purchase a ticket to Britain. He was there for 16 days or so after the fighting was over. But he, as far as I know, he was the last one who got, and that had to be cool. He got a triumph. That had to be freaking cool for him.
And it was the guy who looks like me,
right?
Who, according to the guy at Kung Fu, Aulus Plautius, who
did all the
good work.
Yeah, did all the work.
Yeah, and that was back in 43 CE. So it's been a while.
A minute. Yeah,
Yeah.
as the kids
It's
say.
been
Yeah,
nearly
yeah.
30 years since
Right.
Rome's had a triumph. Actually, it wasn't Nero that was worshipping Isis. It was Caligula, I think. So it was, no one, Nero didn't really get a triumph.
Yeah. We need a
And
party.
then we've had you know, the year of the four emperors. No one lived long enough to get a triumph. So they were in the middle of planning their triumphs when they got triumphed. And
Okay. I got the chariots. Oh, he's dead. Okay. I got the chariots. Oh
yeah.
shit, he's dead. Yeah. So hopefully this time.
Now, what were the requirements for a triumph, Ray?
Well, some people just barely meet the requirement. Some people like to show off. The requirement was you had to be a part of your army that killed 10,000 enemy combatants, and this is the important part. In a victorious campaign, you couldn't have killed 10,000 people and then lost. No, no, the Romans are sticklers for this. So you have to be in charge. You have to be the general. You have to kill 10,000, and you have to win. And that doesn't automatically mean you get it. You get to petition the Senate. And that doesn't mean just because Vespasian has petitioned, that doesn't mean he's going to get it. The Senate's got its own attitude, its own mindset. They got a spine. So they might not give it to him. What do you think?
Well, you say 10,000. I think it was actually 5,000
5,000?
originally. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, but
I think,
inflation,
well,
you know.
yeah, I think by this time,
Oh, they might have.
um, it had sort of like 5,000 wasn't big enough.
No, come on.
Um,
Come on.
yeah, I think by the late or whatever, it's early empire, I guess, still middle of the empire,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how you want to measure it, the good days. Yeah,
The good old days. Yeah.
um, yeah, I think it had sort of crept up, scope creep.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
that happened. That happened.
trying to look up the actual lex that it referred to.
Mm,
Oh yeah, here we go.
right.
Valerius Maximus extrapolated various triumphal laws from disputed historic accounts of actual practice.
Right.
They included one law that the general must have killed at least 5,000 of the enemy in a single battle, and another that he
Ah,
must swear an oath that his account was the truth. No
sure.
evidence has survived for either of these laws or any other laws relating to triumphs.
Yeah, but they had tradition. Is there a giant pile ass body, a bunch of bodies over there? Were you guy in charge? Did you win? All right, you can petition. Here's the form to fill out to send to the Senate. So, but again, if Josephus is only half right, then Titus is more than qualified to have his triumph.
Now, the Fasti Triumphales, also called the Acta Triumphalia, are the
Mm-hmm.
stone tablets that were erected in the Forum around 12 BCE by Augustus.
Right.
They give the general's formal name, the names of his father and grandfather, the
Not bad.
people or command province whence the triumph was awarded, and the date of the triumphal procession. They record over 200 triumphs, starting with three mystical triumphs of Romulus in 753 BCE and
Sure.
ending with Lucius Cornelius Balbus in 19 BCE.
Mm,
So that's the evidence that we
right.
have of triumphs.
Well, again, the Romans are clever. If you do a stone tablet or whatever with all the information you just said, is that not a massive tourist attraction? You just stand in front of it. Maybe you put your arm on it, you take a picture. That's just cool. It's mostly older guys traveling together. But anyway, stuff like that's pretty cool. And again, the Romans took this. They took everything seriously, but they took this serious as well. I wanted to get your opinion. Do you believe, is it or is it not tacky that some of Caesar's triumphs came in the Civil War when he was killing Romans? I mean, these are supposed to be over enemy troops. They were his enemy. I mean, where do you draw the line with that question?
Yeah, I think that was in poor taste. That was
If,
Trump level
tr-
poor taste.
yeah, he would have given himself the award. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
like he hadn't already had a few triumphs
yeah,
for
calm down.
activities
Yeah,
in Gaul, etc. But
exactly.
my point of the 5,000 was going to be now we obviously don't know how many people were killed in the siege of Jerusalem, but our good hat wearing Tasmanian friend Dando Collins in his book says just 100,000. So that's
Right.
enough for 20 triumphs.
Yeah, you can just go up and
This,
down the main avenue in Rome. Just just
yeah.
close off the fucking street for a month.
So the Senate granted Vespasian and Titus triumphs, and they decided to join them together. Vespasian was like, "Listen,
Look,
fuck it, A, we're broke.
yeah.
B, I don't have
I
time
got,
for all this shit.
yeah.
Yeah, so let's
You're
just
young.
merge
You're
them
excited.
together." Yeah,
Exactly. Son. I get that, and you've earned it. More power to you. Me, as soon as I jump off the chart. Now, you might remember this goes way back to the beginning of our podcast when they first did triumphs. Gaius Marius. You had to put the red stuff all over your face. I can't remember what it's called, Stygium or something. Anyway, it was like this. It was this big theatrical thing. I don't think they're doing that anymore. But I think for Vespasian, he's an old man. He's got Rome. He's got the empire. His son has just put out a major fire in Jerusalem. Does it? I mean, I think it might help solidify his position as the new emperor, but he doesn't really want it or need it. And so I think he's just trying to, you know, just get through it as fast as he can.
no, look, I think it's important to establish his credibility. Like,
Yeah.
so Rome has obviously had this period. You had the preceding three guys who we all agree weren't really cut out for the job and
No, not as
weren't
such.
great military commanders, obviously, because they all died. Um,
Right.
Before that, you've got Nero, which everyone saw as an embarrassment.
Yeah.
Claudius, who everyone saw as an embarrassment, and his triumph, everyone probably snickered at because he didn't do it. Before that, Caligula. Before that,
Yeah.
okay, you've got Buckalugs. I can't even remember
Claudius?
his name. No, because before Augustus's stepson.
Tiberius?
Tibbo, thank you.
Tibbo.
I'm thinking
Right.
Titus because there was the only T word I could come up with.
Right. Yeah.
Tibbo, in his day, fairly successful commander, but by the time he's
Yes.
emperor,
It's
not doing
yeah.
any
Jump the shark.
commanding,
Yeah. No.
and not doesn't want the job. I'm not even supposed to be here today. Was his what would be his sex palace in Capri?
Right.
Augustus,
Right.
not a great military commander. If it wasn't for his
Agrippa.
Agrippa and his other friends, he would have been dead a long time ago. So
Yeah.
they really haven't had a
Yeah.
genuine triumph
Yes.
since the big guy, since Julius Caesar, who's been
Yeah.
dead for 130 years at this point.
And for them, he's like King Arthur to us almost. It's a legend. No, I know he was alive, but that was so long ago, Dad. Would you quit fucking stop talking about it? All right. Yeah.
Right.
He's a legend now.
So I think what Vespasian is doing here, it's a symbol of a new era.
Mm.
And this guy is a real general. Now, listen,
Yeah.
taking down a few Jews is not
Jesus.
really the same
Right.
as spending 10 years conquering Gaul and
No,
defeating
yeah.
the Germanic
Good
tribes
good
and winning
call.
a civil war. And you're like
Yeah.
Julius Caesar and even
He just
Pompey, much as I
the
despise
pirates,
Pompey.
Jerusalem himself. Yeah, no, he had some fairly impressive victories himself.
Caesar does not compare. Well, Vespasian doesn't compare to Caesar.
Exactly. Exactly.
That said, he is the closest thing that Rome has had to Caesar, probably.
Yeah.
In a century and a half. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's like I tell Heather, this is as good as it's going to get. Take it.
he had a
'Cause
whole bunch of red caps made with "Make Rome Great Again,"
eh,
uh,
eh,
and he and his son are out there saying, "Listen, Rome is back, baby.
yeah,
We are
baby.
back."
Boing. Right.
Now,
Sorry.
by the way, when the siege goes down, is over, Vespasian has only just arrived in Rome around about the middle of the year 70. He's taken him a while to get there from Alexandria.
Yes. You want the fleet.
So
Yeah.
this is one of the first things he's going to do. Now, the triumph itself isn't going to happen until 71, which is how long it's going to take for Titus to get back.
Right.
But one of the first things that Vespasian does, though, is declare that there's going to be a triumph. So he's making his mark very early on,
Yes.
which is good because he doesn't have long to go. Get
Yeah.
it done up front.
Yeah.
So Fronto, back to Fronto. He
Please.
separates all the prisoners into groups according to their physical stature and their health. The least healthy are going to go fight wild beasts in the amphitheater. And by fight, I mean,
They're going to be, that's just dinner time. That's just dinner time for the, but it's entertaining. It's, let's be honest, if you have a certain
entertaining dinner
mindset.
time. Yeah.
And it's
Which is
Netflix and chill, but instead of sex, it's violence. You know, it's putting it all together.
yes. That's the fate of common criminals under Roman law, and that's how they're going to be treated.
We should bring that back. No,
That
go ahead. Go ahead.
listen, you are about 6 months away from Trump bringing that back. Lefties, you know,
I'm surprised
woke-
left-handed people aren't having their hands cut off.
Yeah.
Because if
You're not
he
far away.
listens to our podcast, he's going to go, I got a great idea. Anyway, please continue. Sorry.
the healthier people were earmarked to go and work in the Egyptian mines where they'd be pulling
Absolutely.
gold and copper out of the ground.
Not myrrh.
And something called beryl. Do you know what
Right.
beryl is, Ray? You a big fan of the beryl?
Barrel rolling. No, the only thing I got for barrel is that it's a mineral. It comes in various colors: green, blue, yellow, pink, and red, which is the rarest. And I saw some pictures. You could carve it and make some pretty shit out of it. I'm not sure what you do with it other than that. But the point that you're going to make is that, yeah, these people are going to be sent to Egypt and they will work in these mines until they are dead. But if you have many more, please share.
Well, emeralds are beryl. They're a
Okay.
green beryl. You get green beryl, red beryl.
They're
You
pretty.
get golden beryl.
Yeah.
So yeah, it comes in lots of different colors. It's a crystalline thing, but yeah, emeralds.
like
so
your-
they're
it's like-
bigger gems.
It's like your lips, very pretty. So
But most of those are going to go work in the Egyptian mines and die there. They've
Yeah.
survived. Like the point is, they survived this thing,
yes,
a civil
Thank
war
God.
inside of their own city,
the Lord has
Uh,
spared us.
and then a war against Rome, starvation, cannibalism, fires, eating their own children, eating
Yeah. Somebody's
horse
children.
shit, and for
Getting cut
what?
open. So they can.
So they can go die in the Roman mines or fight wild beasts in amphitheaters.
Thank you, sweet master.
And the fittest of them are going to be set aside to compete as gladiators after they march in the triumphal marches.
Damn right.
Those that are under 17 years of age are going to be sold for slaves.
Yeah.
Now, Josephus learns once they get into the city that his wife is dead, his parents
Yeah.
are dead,
Yeah.
but his brother Matthias and about 50 of his male friends are among the prisoners. He asks Titus to free them, and Titus does.
Yeah.
Also, some other friends that he has freed. He says that he succeeded in saving 190 women and children that he was acquainted with.
But he's writing this, so
Yeah.
take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy who betrayed his people and went over to the Romans says that he's
And
a
now
really
Brad-
good guy.
He actually dislocated his arm by patting himself on the back during this passage in the book. But yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm sure he
Look, he
saved
would
some
have
people.
he would have kept fighting, but he had bone spurs. So
You don't, if you're not there, you don't understand. Anyway,
Yeah.
so he saved some people.
Later on, he's riding with the commander of the 5th Macedonia Legion, a guy called Cerealis, who
Mhm.
is not the same guy. This is AI
Right.
for you, right? So when I'm writing my notes, one of the books that we're using says Cerealis, and
Yeah.
I say to Claude, who's the AI I'm working with most, is this the same Cerealis as the guy who fought against Queen Boudica in Britain and is the son-in-law of Vespasian, the husband of Domitilla the Younger?
Yeah.
And Claude says, yeah, same guy, same guy. I'm like, oh, great. When I finish my notes,
Right.
I give them to a couple of AIs. I give them to Grok, Elon's AI. I give them to Gemini, and I say, fact
Right.
check these notes for me.
Yeah.
And Gemini comes back and goes, no, 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 it's not the same guy at all. It's a different guy,
Different.
completely different guy,
Syria.
not even related, not the same guy. I go back to Claude. They go, hey, Gemini says this isn't the same guy. And Claude goes, no, no, it's not the same guy. Nah, definitely not the same guy.
Look, if I have to
Sorry.
tell you, maybe the word intelligence shouldn't be in your title, AI. That's all I'm saying. If I have
Yeah.
to, anyway. Wow.
Anyway,
Okay. Yeah.
fuck you. He goes, yeah, sorry, that was on me. That's a bad one. Well, you've got to check your work. As I say,
Mea
run it
culpa.
past Dave. Double AI verification. If you're doing
I like
anything
that.
important,
Yes.
look, people go, oh, you should be using AI. Fuck you. I use the tools that I have available to me, but I
Exactly.
make sure I check my work.
Yeah. Good for you.
So, when Buggerlugs, Josephus is riding with Cerealis, they're going off to set up a camp somewhere.
Yeah.
South of Bethlehem, he sees a bunch of freshly crucified Jews along the roadside and recognizes 3 of his old friends.
Phil, Philatides. Ah, fuck. Oh, dude, I haven't seen you. You don't look so good. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Now, he doesn't do anything on the spot.
No, he can't.
We can. He could have
Right?
said, hey, Cerealis, old friends of mine, would you cut them
Yeah.
down? Maybe he did, and Cerealis was like, beyond my pay
Gotta
grade, dude.
gotta
Yeah.
run it by the balls.
I have the authority to string them up, nail them up.
Yeah.
Don't have the
I,
authority to
yeah.
pull them down.
You see
That's
this
a
badge here? I can only
whole
put 'em
different
up.
union.
That's
Whole
it's
different
an
union
up
takes.
badge.
Yeah, it's a union thing.
You went down Union 32. I'm
Yeah.
up Union 36. It's a don't cross the wires.
Oh man, so much trouble if I step over the line into their territory. So when he gets
Exactly.
back to Jerusalem, he begs
Right.
Titus
Yeah.
to save the lives of these 3 men. Titus agrees and orders them to be taken down, but by the time they get back there,
Well,
2 of them are dead, and it's too late. But
well,
imagine you're the 3rd guy.
right.
You
I'm
go
there.
the rest of your life. I don't know how long that's going to be, but you're
Just-
going, hey, did I ever tell you about the time I was
They struck-
crucified?
that union strung my ass up. Go ahead.
Jesus
tell us.
schmeezes. Listen, bitch, I was
There for 3
I
days.
was on a cross. 3 days? Fuck that. I was on a cross. I'd been up there for a week.
Yeah.
When I see
yeah.
my best friend,
Yeah. just ride
Josephus,
calm
I'm
as
like,
can be.
hey, Joe. He
Hey,
goes,
oh,
hey,
hey.
Phil, what are you doing? No,
what are you
not
doing?
much. You? I'm
what am
going
I
off to
doing?
this thing. Hey, Joe. Yeah, what,
Can
Phil?
you-
Do me a solid. Can you get me down off of this? I'll do what I can.
Ooh.
Barry and
yeah.
Stan are here too. Hi,
Yeah.
Barry. Hey, Stan.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
3 weeks later, somebody
Right, 'cause-
finally comes and lets me
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, sorry. Bit of a red tape issue. Bit of a mix-up.
Right.
Paperwork.
What's
Sorry.
union? It's
yeah.
union stuff. Yeah. Well,
But
see, the thing is,
imagine that. Imagine being
Yeah.
crucified.
yeah, and
and
you
then
thinking you're going to
surviving it.
die. This is how you're going to die, and then suddenly, well, see, the thing was, what he got in trouble with the Jews was, he goes, 3 days. I was just getting warmed up after 3 days of being on that
Yeah.
cruise. Fuck him, no, but
Now,
hey,
in all
and-
seriousness,
Yeah,
what we know
please.
about crucifixion, I mean, the whole,
Painful?
well, you nails through the hands thing, probably
Yeah.
not real.
The
Unless
ropes.
they're doing it just to be fun.
Just
Yeah, you're probably tied up with ropes,
right.
but you're hanging.
Oh,
Not
it's
good for the shoulders. You're
no.
hanging down there, or your body
Hurts
weight.
like a
They're not,
mother.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're not going to make you comfortable. It's not the whole idea of crucifixion.
exactly.
You're
Exactly.
tied up on this stake in the sun, in the elements.
Yes.
All right, so this is late September, early
Still
October.
warmish.
It's not winter yet, but
Yeah.
it's still not pleasant.
Yeah.
You've got birds, crows, vultures. I don't know what fucking they have in Jerusalem, but you've got
Buzzard something.
you
Something.
birds looking to peck your eyes out. You've got ants, scorpions, spiders, crickets,
Yeah. And an
people.
itch. The
Yeah,
odd itch.
so you finally come down off of this thing. I don't know
Right.
how well you're going to be feeling, but
Yeah. Do you have
not good.
some lotion, some suntan? Anyway, so if you could ask Claude, what is the best month to be crucified in Jerusalem? No, don't do that. That would set off
Oh, I have to
alarms.
run it past Gemini after it gives me the answer.
So
Meanwhile,
like Meatloaf wrote the song "1 out of 3 ain't bad." No,
2 out of 3 ain't
yes,
bad.
no, yeah, exactly. So he saved he saved another
Oh,
person.
right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
good for him.
Oh, can we break into a bit of Meatloaf now?
I
I
wish.
want you.
I
I
want you.
need you. But you. So
I'm
never
never gonna
love you. So
love you.
don't
Now don't
feel bad.
be sad.
'Cause 2 out of 3
3 ain't bad.
don't feel sad.
We should take
Um,
that on the road. Yeah.
Yeah. Legionaries are searching everywhere underground, looking for rebels, looking for treasure. Any
For
rebel they
fuck's
came across
sake.
who resisted was immediately killed. Orders,
Yeah.
schmorders. But most of the Jews, and they found thousands of them underground, were already dead.
Yeah.
And either from
smell.
starvation or having been killed by fellow Jews or of having committed suicide because they didn't want to go and get eaten by wild animals in the amphitheaters.
Yeah.
They're searching for booty. Now, in 2013, one of these underground vaults was discovered near the Western Wall, one
Oh,
of the
wow.
few surviving parts of the city from this day.
Mm-hmm.
It only contained 3 cooking pots and a small oil lamp, which would have been considered nonsense by the Romans. They're looking for gold and silver and shit.
Yeah. The shiny
But it's
stuff.
amazing. They were still down there nearly 2,000 years later. Crazy.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Proof. Yes.
Now,
What about
the leaders of the rebellion, Eleazar, John of Giscala, and Simon Bar-Gioras,
Mm-hmm.
are missing at this point.
Uh-oh.
They're searching for the leaders, the big gods. John, who's
Yeah.
hiding underground, starving,
Yeah.
soon identifies himself and offers to surrender if Titus grants him his life.
And why shouldn't Titus? He's one, it's over with. One more Jew who is either dead or alive. Does it really matter? It's not like he's going to let him go away. So, why not? Yes. Yes. You can live. ... For now.
So John is brought out loaded with chains on his wrists and ankles. Titus agrees, and
Yeah.
he's going to be taken to Rome for the triumph.
Yeah. The big show. That's what they called it in Rome. I don't know if that's true.
Simon Bar-Gioras
He had a
seemed to have
plan.
disappeared, but was in fact digging a tunnel.
Yeah. Digging to freedom.
I
Yeah.
love this story. This is one of the great stories. Simon Bar-Gioras, one of the leaders of the rebels in Jerusalem for the last
Mhm.
4 years,
Right.
had, when all was lost, took the coward's way out, got a group of guys that were
Fellow
stone
cowards.
cutters, masons,
Right. Yep.
took them underground into one of these subterranean tunnels and started to dig a tunnel like he's trying to break out of, I don't know, what's that prison
Alcatraz?
you've got? Alcatraz?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not sure if you can tunnel out of Alcatraz, it being an island and everything, but a different
Right.
one.
It's a little
He's trying
tricky.
to dig a tunnel underneath the city to
Sure.
come up outside the walls of the city and make their escape in the middle of the night.
It's a brilliant plan. Yeah. Brilliant.
But how do you know where your exit? How far you? Yeah.
I don't know.
Turns out he
Pacing?
should have taken a surveyor or somebody with him. So days later, a bunch of Romans are around. They're destroying what's left of the city, covering up in dirt because Titus had told them to bury everything in dirt so they can
Yes.
wipe this city off the face of the earth. Is the plan.
Damn. Right.
All of a sudden, this guy wearing a white gown and purple robes,
Sure.
dressing like Donald Trump Christ, healing the sick.
Healing left and right, baby.
Do you see somebody, the White House, that AI picture of Trump dressed as Jesus that's been creating lots of
Yeah.
amazing. I read the conservative subreddits, and they will back Trump no matter
Nope.
what crazy
No
shit he
matter
says
what.
or does until he did that.
Yeah.
The amount of posts of them going, "Oh, listen, dude,
Look,
will you just
too
shut
far.
the fuck up? Seriously,
Too far. Yeah.
why do you keep doing dumb shit, Trump?"
Yeah.
They were very offended and upset by that. But then the White House tweeted that the picture was doctored, and then Trump came out and said that he thought he was being a doctor. Like, I think the White House told him, just tell people the picture was doctored. And
Yeah.
instead he said, I thought I was a doctor.
That makes sense to me. I buy that. Yeah. And the two best reactions I've seen to that is, one, I have a friend who works in a hospital. He and two other guys dressed up in robes. They're doctors, but they said this is how doctors dress here at the hospital in Williamsburg. And the other one is, the giant, I can't remember the name of it, the giant statue of Jesus in Brazil, like
Yeah.
this. That's a giant doctor statue. So people are
Yeah.
just having way too much fun with this. Fucking idiot.
Anyway, this guy pops out of the hole in the ground wearing Donald Trump clothes, doctor's uniform.
Yeah.
Trying to make out that he's a ghost.
Oh, like Hamlet.
Oh, I'm a ghost.
Be afraid of me. Give me some water. I'm thirsty. Be afraid of me. For fuck's sake.
I'm the hungry ghost. And that's
Oh my-
Simon
so-
Bar-Gioras, one of the leaders of the rebels.
Yeah.
The Romans
Always go
arrest him.
further. Always go further. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Double it.
He pops out in the middle of a bunch of Romans. I don't know where he got a white robe, white gown, and purple robes from.
Yeah,
He's been
being in
underground
dirt.
for a week,
Yes.
digging
Yes.
holes. Just had that in his,
It's
you
a
got to
miracle.
have what do they call it? Your escape pack. Like
Yeah.
I've got
white
lots of
shirt.
different passports and different names, different
But I'm aware-
currencies.
Yeah.
A couple of handguns, grenades.
Yeah.
Cyanide pill. They'll never take me alive.
Right. And a white shirt. And a white shirt.
Yeah,
good for you.
yeah, and robes to dress up as a ghost, just
Pirate
in case
boots.
I get trapped.
And an eye patch. Sorry. Go ahead. For
fake,
fuck's sake.
fake mustache, Groucho Marx mask.
Oh, good stuff.
Fuck.
Oh, we're idiot. So there's two down.
So there's two down. The zealot leader Eleazar,
Right.
never seen again. There's no mention of him in the records of the last weeks of the siege either. No account
Right.
of him dying in battle. So it's kind of assumed that he either escaped or he was just one of the Jews that succumbed to starvation,
Yeah. Stinking up the place.
or he died in the internal civil war before the final Roman breach. And so this is the guy who is largely responsible for the civil war in the first place.
Right.
And he just disappears off the face of the map. So just to recap, we've touched on this in earlier episodes, but it's been a while.
Mhm.
So he was the leader of the Zealot faction that had, once they were inside of Jerusalem, had held the inner temple court,
Right.
and then they let John of Giscala's faction in during Passover. John said, "Hey, we want to come and make a sacrifice
Yeah.
during Passover." He said, "Sure." And they came in
Absolutely.
and they
Yeah.
killed everyone. May have
Jesus.
killed, no, not Jesus. Jesus was already
So,
dead at this
sorry.
stage. There was
It was more
just
of an
this guy dressed up as Jesus to try and confuse people like Trump. He said, "Oh, I'm a doctor. Hey, I'm a
Dr.
doctor."
Jesus. It's nice to meet you.
But
Sorry.
just to recap, so this all started in 66 CE when the
Right.
Roman procurator Gessius Florus raided the temple treasury
And
and
yeah.
took 17 talents of silver. Now, his justification was that the Jews hadn't paid back taxes and he got sick of them waiting and he just went and took it.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's genuine or it was just a pretext for him just going, you know what? Fuck
Yeah.
you. I'm taking money.
That's
We don't
mine.
know.
Right.
Josephus claims that Florus just wanted to create some shit to justify killing a bunch of Jews. He just got sick of the Jews and he just thought that he stole money and they were arcing up over it. And then he was like, you know what? Fuck you. I'd, he wanted an excuse to just kill a
Right.
bunch of Jews. A Jerusalem crowd was mocking him by passing around a collection basket for the poor Florus who needed money. He
Yeah.
responded by sending troops into the city to massacre civilians and crucify Jewish nobles,
Damn.
including some Roman citizens, which was obviously a legal violation. The city exploded. The moderate Jewish leadership, the Sanhedrin, that were, sort of collaborators with the Romans and had been
Yeah.
for quite a long time at this stage, tried to keep a lid on it.
Too late.
Then a temple priest, Eleazar ben Hananiah, different Eleazar to the leader of the Zealots, but he stopped the daily sacrifice on behalf of the emperor, which was an offense to the
Yeah.
Romans. Then the Zealots seized Masada. Roman garrisons started getting massacred across Judea.
Mm.
That's when the Jews believed that Yahweh was on their side. They had
Right.
the Messiah had finally come. They
It's that
had an
time.
ambush at Beth Horon when a Jewish force routed the 12th Fulminata Legion, killed around
Mhm.
6,000 soldiers, captured the Legion's eagle.
Oh, yeah.
And that ambush was led by our Eleazar now, Eleazar ben Simon, who was sort of one of, if not the leader of the Zealots.
Right.
He then summons the Idumeans to come and support him. Tens of thousands of fighters come in to support the Zealots.
Mhm.
They flood into Jerusalem. That kind of sets off the civil war. He has the Idumeans kill a bunch of the Romans that he said were being friendly to, the Jews who were being friendly to the Romans.
Right.
That starts the civil war. There's like the Zealot coup of 67, 68 CE. Seized the temple, installed a puppet high priest, and after they got rid of the Sanhedrin, slaughtered thousands of fellow Jews, including the high priest Ananus that we mentioned a few episodes ago, and Jesus ben Gamala.
Right.
In a funny way, like these were the guys that were negotiating with Rome to keep the peace. He kills the negotiators, the zealot
Yeah.
leader, which is basically being rerun in Iran at the moment. Israel, the US, and Iran were in peace negotiations 6 weeks ago. Then they killed all the negotiators and
Hmm.
killed all of the Iranian leadership that wanted to negotiate with them, were trying to
That had the
negotiate,
power. Yes.
replaced them with more hardcore leadership. And
Yeah.
now we're seeing that play out here. So anyway,
Jeez.
Vespasian heard about the Jews fighting each other and preempted Napoleon's maxim that you should never interrupt your enemy while he's making a mistake, which is now Xi Jinping's maxim. And watching Trump, And
Yeah.
according to Josephus, 1.1 million Jews died during the siege of Jerusalem. 97,000 survived. Obviously, as we said earlier, we don't really believe those numbers. He's probably inflating those to make the victory of Vespasian/Titus sound more impressive. But there's some interesting math behind this.
Mm.
Um, the walled area of Jerusalem in 70 CE was about 450 acres.
Okay.
To fit 1.2 million people, which is what
Uh-oh.
Josephus claims, 100,000 survived, 1.1 million died,
Yeah.
the population density would have to be roughly 2,600 people per acre.
Right. It sounds like a tight fit, but I don't know.
Do you want to take a guess what Manhattan's people per acre mileage is?
God, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Manhattan has a population density of about 100 people per acre, with a lot of high
Right.
rises.
Right.
Wasn't a,
Three-dimensional thing. Yeah.
wasn't a lot of skyscrapers in
Yeah.
Jerusalem.
So what was the
So
number again? What was the number that would have to have been if it was 1.1 or 1.2 million Jews?
2,600 people per acre to fit Josephus's body count in there.
Sounds like a lot. That's
Yeah,
all I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah. 26 times the density of Manhattan.
Probably not.
Now, I know
Yeah.
people shared houses and they didn't really have mansions and they didn't have, shopping centers and they did a lot of
Still.
things in Manhattan that they didn't have, but they did have marketplaces
Still.
and agoras and temples and palaces and all that kind of
Right.
stuff too.
Yep.
Anyway,
Exactly. Yeah.
most modern historians estimate the city's population was probably somewhere between 70 to 100,000 normally. But
Mhm.
this was Passover and pilgrims would have come in for Passover. So it
Yeah.
could have been double that, could have been 200,000, 250,000.
Mhm. And now?
Interestingly, though,
Right.
Josephus actually reports his methodology for calculating the population.
Oh, this ought to be good.
It is good. He says, now the number of those that were carried captive during this whole war was collected to be 97,000, as was the number of those that perished during the whole siege, 1,100,000, the greater
Mhm.
part of whom were indeed of the same nation, but not belonging to the city itself, for they were come up from all the country to the feast of unleavened bread, and were on a sudden shut up by an army, which at the very first occasioned so great a straitness among them that there came a pestilential destruction upon them, and soon afterwards such a famine as destroyed them more suddenly. And that
Damn.
this city could contain so many people in it is manifest by that number of them which was taken under Cestius, who being desirous of informing Nero of the flower of the city, who otherwise was disposed to condemn that nation, entreated the high priests, if the thing were possible, to take the number of their whole multitude. So
Hmm.
that these priests, upon coming of that feast, which is called the Passover, when they slay their sacrifices from the 9th hour till the 11th, but so that a company not less than 10 belong to every sacrifice, for it is not lawful for them to feast singly by themselves, and many of
Right.
us are 20 in a company, found the number of sacrifices was 256,500,
So
which,
he's
upon the
based.
allowance of no more than 10 that feast together, amounts to 2,700,200 persons that were pure and holy. For as to those that have the leprosy, or the gonorrhea, or women that have their monthly courses, or such as are otherwise polluted, it is not lawful for them to be partakers of this sacrifice, nor indeed for any foreigners neither who come hither to worship.
So that's what he's basing it on. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least he brought his work. He's showing his work.
Yeah. So he is showing his work. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Cestius being Cestius Gallus, the governor of Syria who failed to quash the revolt in 64
Er,
and 65,
exactly. Early on.
gets removed, dies, and gets replaced. So interesting that he tries to show his math.
Yeah, good for
But
him.
yeah, scholars,
It's
like, well, so the Sanhedrin told him that there were 256,500 beasts sacrificed. Really? Who counted all of
yeah.
those? I mean,
The same guy who counted the animals 2 by 2 going into the ark. Bob,
they
I think was
probably
his name.
did get paid for it, but it's a very, very
Yeah.
specific number.
Yeah.
And he's relying on a report made to Cestius, filtered through high priests, filtered through Cestius, filtered through Josephus himself, writing decades later. So, we don't know.
Yeah. Exactly. But in a way, it doesn't matter because besides the 3 towers of Herod's around Herod's place and a part of the Western Wall, according to Titus, the rest of it is to be razed to the ground and covered with dirt as if it never existed.
Well, I think that's a podcast. I think we've well and truly done enough for today. We'll be back next time. And what I'm going to start with next time is what happened to the Christian community that was inside Jerusalem at the
Ooh.
time.